Hello everyone, today I'm bringing you a Transformers TCG buyer's guide. We're going to be going through every single product they've released so far, and I'm going to be telling you what I recommend and what I don't recommend. So I hope you enjoy. We're going to start with the packs. Now Wave 1, the battle cards in this set are just the most essential battle cards, period. Peace Through Tyranny, Matrix of Leadership, Rollout, Security Checkpoint, see play on almost every single deck. The character cards from this set, the good ones at least, like Grimlock, RC, Nemesis Prime, are amazing. The only downside to this deck is the character cards that aren't amazing are really bad. Base characters with no ability is pretty disappointing, and you get those quite often. So my recommendation for this pack is a 9 out of 10. Wave 2 recently got a whole lot better. Marksmanship jumped up to $20, easily paying for the pack if you pull one. Mining Pick and Espionage are all around great cards. The only issue with this set is for beginners, and you run into the issue of combiners being dead cards unless you pull all 5 of them, and even then only 1 to 2 of them being actually competitive. My recommendation for this set is a 5 for new players and a 7 for pre-established players. Wave 3 is just okay at best. The supers are decent, excluding Shockwave, who was really good. But the battle cards really hold this set back. Only 3 are worth more than $3, so instead of just buying the booster packs, it's much better just to buy the singles you need rather than fill out your collection with a bunch of crappy battle cards that will never see use. My recommendation for this set is a 3 out of 10. Wave 4 has a higher super rare pull chance compared to the other sets, which is great because Galaxy Prime and Octone easily pay for a whole box themselves. This set has a decent battle card collection, but honestly it's the character cards that I like the most. Jetfire and Six Gun being my personal favorites, but overall having a lot of decent characters. My recommendation for this set is a 7 out of 10. Next, moving on to the precons, I'm going to start by lumping the Autobot starter set and the Bumblebee vs. Megatron set into the same group. They're both designed for one thing, which is teaching the game to new players, and objectively it does a really good job at that. Obviously, it's not meant to be competitive, but they do have a few heavily used cards like Grenade Launcher and Supercharge that you can carry into decks later on. Since they're so incredibly cheap, I would absolutely recommend these to new players, with my recommendation to new players being an 8 out of 10. Devastator suffers from the same thing almost every combiner does. It's kind of trash, but that doesn't mean it's not super fun to play. Blue, Black, and Orange Devastator can still do some decent work against non-meta decks. Devastator includes a playset of Reclaim and Work Overtime, worth almost as much as the deck itself, so my recommendation for this is a 10 out of 10, just for the playset of Reclaim and Work Overtime. Next we have Blaster vs. Soundwave. Blaster vs. Soundwave is more expensive than any other set on this list, but rightfully so. This set comes with 2 ready-to-play decks out of the box. Soundwave is decent, but Blaster on the other hand definitely needs some work to become playable. With a character change and a dozen or so battle cards, Blaster actually becomes a tournament playable deck. Both decks are enjoyable in their own right, but as a side note, Blaster will always lose to Soundwave out of the box. Next we have Metroplex. Who doesn't love an 8-inch card taking up their entire mat? Metroplex is a ton of fun to play, and with a couple upgrades you can get his ability off almost every time. You can play hyper aggro or defensive, but I absolutely love this deck, and finding it sometimes as low as $8 means it's a great deal. My recommendation for this set is an 8 out of 10. Lastly, we have the Energon edition. Yes, it's expensive, but I think it's definitely worth it. First, you get a full box of Wave 1, which as stated before has the best battle cards hands down, that in itself being 40% of the value. Next, you get a great assortment of super rares and rares from Wave 1, including the San Diego Comic-Con exclusives, Cliffjumper and Slipstream. Megatron Living Weapon, Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend, Bumblebee, and Nemesis Prime, all of which can be put into some really good decks. And in my opinion, the best part about all of Energon Edition is that you get a copy of All Out Attack and Tandem Targeting System, the first of which I think is honestly the best card in the game. My recommendation for this is a 10 out of 10.